Good morning. It's morning time in the Goobler house, so I won't keep this on my face because it's a little bit scary. Workout in the morning. So, all right, I'm going to show you guys this morning what I do to make a very, very healthy breakfast. It's a really easy way to sneak in vegetables. If your family is anything like my family, greens, so spinach, kale, things like that, is one of the hardest vegetables to include into my kids' diets. And so what we do is we put it into pancakes and waffles and breads and stuff like that because really, truly, you can't taste it. And as your family gets used to having it, you can actually increase the amount that you put in. So just kind of FYI on that. Maybe start small and then work your way up if you're afraid that your kids will be picky or whatever. But I just wanted to show you. So I'm going to spin this around. So I'm going to show you what I've got here. This is date paste, and so you can make your own date paste. It looks gross. It's really not, though. It's just these pitted dates, or you can just buy it non-pitted and you just have to take the pit out. And what you do is you'll actually, to make this, it's really simple. You just put these into a bowl and pour over hot water over it. You can let it soak overnight, or just even like I do hot water, so I do about 15 minutes. You just basically need to soften it so that your blender can blend it up. You put it in a high-speed blender, you blend it, you can add more water to be the consistency that you want. When it's more pasty, it's like about like this consistency. You can add more to kind of be more like a honey consistency. It doesn't really matter. This is basically to be used as a sugar substitute, and I love using dates as sweetener because it's fruit. And so you're only using fruit as sweetener, and it's one of the highest natural sugar fruits out there. And so you don't need a ton to make things very, very sweet. And just so I don't forget to tell you later, with the recipe, I usually swap out maple syrup with date paste. And so I just do equal parts, but oftentimes when I do an entire blender full of spinach, this is a pound of spinach right there, I will increase the sweetener just to kind of counterbalance the bitter from the green. Also, heads up, if you're going to use kale and mixed greens and stuff like that, those are much more pungent than like spinach. So I would probably start with spinach if you can, to work your family up to more bitter greens. All right, so what I have here too is fruit. This is all frozen fruit. If I was, super on top of things, I'd probably thaw this the night before, but I always forget. So I usually just end up microwaving it for several minutes to try to get it thawed, mostly so that I can blend it up in my blender. Just use whatever fruit you want. This is for the syrup that I add to my kids later. So like we don't even use sugar syrup in our house. And so occasionally as a special treat, they'll get like maple syrup or whatever. But honestly, most of the time and what they prefer is just fruit syrup. And so I just take this fruit. I just put in what I have. So this is a lot of blueberries this time. And this is a tropical mix from Costco, so it has some peaches and strawberries and I think pineapple, maybe some mango. Anyway, so I just blend that all together so it becomes a fruit, like syrupy consistency, and my kids just dip it in their fruit syrup or whatever. And if you want to, you could always add date paste to the blender with that to make it even more sweet if you're afraid it won't be sweet enough, but I think you'll be surprised, like fruit syrup is very, very sweet. All right, so what I have here is my dry stuff. So this is all the dry ingredients. So I've got cinnamon, I've got tons of flour in here. There's some oats like the recipe called for, baking powder and sodas in here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mix all that up with a whisk to make that super well blended. And then, so you have your dry ingredients and you have your wet ingredients. And then the wet ingredients are things like, so you just follow the recipe to a T is fine. But then I add in the spinach. So this will probably end up making, this is a giant bowl. I don't know if you can see like how big this bowl is. It's pretty big. It makes about probably 50 pancakes by the time I'm done with this. So I like quadruple to, I don't know, 6 times recipes usually, because I like to freeze the pancakes, which that's an easy way to do that too. But so that way I don't have to cook as often. And so with my wet ingredients, what I have here is I have applesauce in here because we don't use oil typically in my home. And so I just sub out equal parts oil for applesauce. And then instead of maple syrup, I've done this date paste. And so that's going to help sweeten the batter. So I don't have any sweetener in my dry. It's just all my sweeteners in my liquid. And then there's the plant milk, there's the spinach. And so what I do is I blend that up really fine and till it's super smooth. Also, this here is a flax egg. So this is just ground up flaxseed, which you can get pretty much anywhere. And so you can buy that, and you can either mill it yourself. It does have to be milled, so like you can either put it in a blender, or I actually have a seed grinder that does it for me, or coffee grinder I've heard works. Anyway, so you can grind up these seeds, or you can buy it ground, and then you just add it with water, and that's in the recipe as well on Minimalist Baker recipe that I'll share. And this is the flax egg, so it just works as a substitute for an egg. So it's great if you are plant-based, or if you have an allergy to eggs or whatever. So this is a flax egg, and after I get this all whisked up, I'll put this in there. I'll just pour it in there, and mine looks like a giant bowl because I'm doing a giant batch. So just keep in mind yours will not look that big. That won't be very much. So same with this. So I will blend this, and then I'll kind of show you my process. All right, so what I've got here now is the whisked up ingredients, and I poured in the flaxseed egg. So if you don't have the flaxseed egg, you can always do just a regular egg. So let's see, I'm gonna switch here to rubber spatula. So now I also have this. Look how bright green this is. It's kind of crazy. This is a whole bunch of veggies in here, my friends. So you just pour in your liquid as you would either way. And March is a great time to start doing this for your family, because you can talk about leprechauns and shamrocks and March and green and all of that. And so it's not like quite a shock to be having, sorry, my dog's gonna bark at the banging. It's not quite a shock to have like green pancakes. So I'm going to get this all mixed up. And what I love about making pancakes is they are so forgiving. So it's like if you have too much flour or too much liquid, like, you know, if you have too much liquid, you can add more flour. And if it's too thick, you can add more water. Anyway, I can't remember if I just said that right, but you know what I mean. So once I stir this all up, it won't be quite so bright green. But just keep in mind that this is 100% now whole foods. It's 100% whole grains, flours. So there's no refined flours in it. There's no sugar in it because we just used fruit for sweetener. But again, you could use honey, or you could use maple syrup. You know, I always preach progress or perfection. So if it's going to take a while to get here, that's just great. But I'll start mixing this up, and then you just kind of choose the consistency you want. And then griddle it all up. So, yeah, so I'll just get this stirred up, and then I can show you the fruit syrup at the end too. So, all right, so don't judge my skills. I'm like trying to do this and the camera at the same time, but basically I just take like usually like a half a cup. This is about the consistency. Sometimes I'll do it a little bit thinner. I'll probably end up having to thin this a little bit, but I just get the batter on here in about a fourth to a half a cup size serving, pour it on my griddle. I have the non-stick griddles, so I don't spray it. Obviously, if your griddle sticks, you'll need to spray it with something. And then you just cook it just like normal. So I just wanted to show you the visual that they can still look like pancakes. They're still gonna like have the little air bubbles when they're ready to be flipped. They're just a little bit green. So this is why March is a great time to introduce these, because it just is a fun way to bring it up of like, it's March and it's green. So these are like shamrock pancakes or leprechaun pancakes or whatever. So you just make it fun for kids. And then your kids just get used to what you do. So if you act like it's weird, like they're going to think it's weird. But if you act like it's just normal and fun, then they'll think it's normal and fun. So kind of a funny story, like we have been adding spinach into our pancakes for a couple of years now. So yeah, my daughter just said they don't even taste it. So when we went to Disney World this last year, and like those Mickey Mouse waffles, they're all just classic, made out of white flour waffles and flour and stuff. they were like, oh my gosh, these are so white. So it was actually kind of funny and weird that the waffles were white. So anyway, your kids just get used to what you have. And so if you do this all the time, then that's what they're going to be used to. All right, so I changed it to 1/3 cup serving. And so what I love about these pancakes, you'll see that they brown up as they cook, look a little bit more normal. But what happens with these pancakes, like what's so cool about them is that not only do they have tons of veggies in it, veggies that are usually hard to get kids to eat, and you don't taste them, but also these ones that I made don't have any sugar. So like it's literally just whole grains, vegetables, and fruit and seeds. And so seeds are super, super beneficial. They're just packed full of nutrients. And so being able to do the flaxseed egg, wow, I'm not very good at this in the camera at the same time. They really pack a huge nutritional punch for your kids and for you. So being able to do chia eggs or flax eggs is a great way to include lots of antioxidants and other things that are in seeds. So anyway, also for holidays and stuff, this is a really fun thing you can do. You can make them into shapes. So like making hearts for Valentine's, shamrocks for St. Patrick's Day, Easter eggs or bunnies for Easter, things like that. All right, so to be able to freeze these, since I made like 50 to 60 probably, is while I'm cooking them, I lay some out on this metal cooling rack. And then that way, so you can either, will you turn that down, please? You can either just put them in a Ziploc bag. So I like to put them in a freezer gallon Ziploc. Turn that down, please. So like a gallon Ziploc like this. And they'll still stick together a little bit at that point, but these are cooled off so they don't stick a ton. But if you want to be even more safe, to be able to have these be like a peel one off in the morning or whatever to heat up for your kids so that they are ready to go, you flash freeze them. So if you're not familiar with flash freezing, it's just basically I lay them out on these silicone bake mats so that they don't stick, and you just throw them in the freezer after you line this whole pan with them. You throw them in the freezer for about 20-30 minutes, maybe for how thick these are even longer. But then once they're kind of like individually frozen but not frozen through, you're going to then put them in the bag, and you can stack them up in the bag, and then that way you're able to just peel one each, or like peel one out one at a time, so that you can pull it out and thaw it in the microwave or in the toaster or whatever for your kids for breakfast. So last tip.